have it like that. So I want us to create list of users, and then let's play with them. So assuming I have here, I have scripts, scripts. I want to put everything right on the same page, right there. So I say let's fellows be, or let me say users. So for anyone that is going to pick up this video and use subsequently, so we have a folder where we have images inside that folder. This can be any image. We just want to play with it. All right, and then we have group of users. Okay, so here I don't know if I should call it users or I call it fellows. Users is equals to array of some users, right? So let's say these people have name, and then name. Please give me first name. Let me have it like this: first name, and then Caleb. What's your first name? Caleb, right? Am I on this call? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Eh? Please, I don't want you to waste my time.
Olubayo.
Olubayo.
The first name is Caleb. The last name.
Please, if I call you, answer me quickly. Olubayo. And then let's say the email address is anything. Let's say the email address is bayo@mail.com. I'm not so interested. And any other thing, but I'll just go to image or the profile picture. Profile image. I'll use Caleb dot is inside images, so I go inside images, and then I go to Caleb dot jpg. He doesn't even then matter the extension. I wanted to write a script before, but if you follow this, well, we can just so I'm just going straight in there. Nothing special. This is just to create an array. This could have been created. Nothing special. So I will just have this for everybody else like that. So Grace, your last name is what?
Adie. A-D-I-E.
What?
A-D-I-E. Adie.
Okay. Grace@mail.com.
A-D-I-E.
AGIE, whatever I put here, you manage it. This is Grace, and then Iyanoluwa. Last name Iyanoluwa. I'll give you another last name. Oh. So Iyanoluwa, because I don't want the video to belong on stuff that are not necessary. Iyanoluwa. Alright, so we have these three users right here. We're going to begin with these three users. We'll add other users as we move along. So what I want to do is to have this user on display on the screen. So let's say I've prepared this page for it. on the screen. So I have, let's say I have a div or a container, whatever this thing you call it, and then I want to have it ID. I have users. All right. So assuming we want to style it nicely.
Recording stopped.
Assuming we want to style it nicely, and we come here, we have style, and then under the style, let's say I have the ID. I want to be sure I'm in this class. Am I in this class?
Recording in progress.
Oh, okay. So let's say I have an ID class, and then let's say the display of that, I call it grid, right? And then assuming we have the grid template columns, 3 columns. So let's say we have auto. I'm not here to teach CSS, so I'm not going to explain anything. I know you guys are pro in it already. Okay, so I just want to use that to style that. So let's say we give a background color. Then let's say the background color we're giving is anything, aqua, whatever. Okay, so inside it, what I want to do is basically such that if I have here, let's say I have another div, and this div, assuming we call it a class user, you know, these are ID users, and then class user, and then let's say we have here, I have user 1, so I want to have as many users in there as possible, user 2, user 3, but this is going to be dynamic going forward, so I just want us to lay down foundation. So if I open this guy with my live server, and so I shall have that guy. All right, so I have that user 1, user 2, user 3. So assuming we create a class for it, so that we can user, and so we give it a minimum width of 200 pixel, and then give it a different background color so we can easily spot it, and then yeah, something like that. Let's say we give it, we pad it a little bit, so pad it a little bit, and then we give it margin so it can be separated from this thing. So we give it 10 pixel margin minimum. Okay, so if we look at that, we'll see that we have this guy right here, those users, but I don't want to use user 1, user 2, user 3. I want to use these users that we got here. So we're using that to also refresh our DOM, this thing. So we don't want to do this, we want to do it hard append all of this. So what I'm going to do then would be to come here and say let's user container be equals to the document dot get elements by ID, so that I can easily target this container right here, users, right? So I have that, and then the next thing I want to do is to have this guy automatically rendered in there. So I will just use, say, users, that is this variable right here that has an array. So let's say I'm using for each. If I use for each, I can get what is inside it. If I use user and then I can get index of it. If you say user comma, if you need the index of each element in the user in that array, you can use index, you know, like that. But here I only need just the elements. I'm not using the index for anything for now. So I will just say user such that. Okay, so for each of the user, I want to render it and append it to this place. So you have a number of options. You can create a div element in your DOM dynamically and automatically append that into the parent DOM, or you can just use inner HTML. Inner HTML though is injectable, is vulnerable. I have to mention that, but we'll see how we can going forward, how we can ensure that it's safe to use by sanitizing and then avoiding XSS injection. All right, so but it's still good, and it's very easy to use. All right, if you use so is that option I'm going to be using now. So I'll say is users for each user, and then we've got this guy. Okay, for each user I want to append this. So I would also instantiate the, so let me say let the single user, let me call it users container. If you want users container, and then I can then say user box. That's a single user. So I'll just instantiate it. I'm not going to make it an HTML element. So here I will then come and say user box plus equals to, we're not doing anything array yet. This is just still trying to refresh our DOM. Users box, of course, this is array. This is an array method for each. So you have user box equals to this, right? So what I want to put there is this guy. Here. Something like this is what I want to put there. So I want to iterate all of them and join all of them together. That's what I'm doing here. Concatenation, to concatenate each of these div, and then all of them together will be appended as a bundle, not individually. So I say div, I'm using backtick here. The class remain user, but the content is going to be dynamic. So here I put the content to be this guy gives me individual elements in this object. So I have user dot, you can see email, first name, all the properties that you used. So let's say you say first name, and also say last name. Yeah, so let's say you got that. Okay, so the next thing you want to do though is to then append it to this guy, to this user container. So using the inner HTML, I will repeat again, inner HTML is injectable and it needs to be used with caution, and even this that we're using here is also injectable. It needs to be used with caution because you can pass script here and it will execute. Right, so here we are passing in this guy. We're passing this guy here. Okay, so user box. Okay, so if we do that and we look at what we've got here, okay, all right, so please, are we on the same box?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well,
Yeah, so please, for to put only user 1, user 2. I don't want to put only the first name, so let's say we want to put the profile image as well. So let's say we want to put the profile image. So I come here and I say image, and then I have src equals to that, like that. So the src here, I'm using this user dot image, profile image, user dot profile image. All right, so and then we have auth, give it alternative name so that we are compliant with W3 standard. So we have the user dot first name. All right, so that works. We have the everybody images showing up, because some people's heads are very big, so I'm going to, sorry about that. So I'm going to style the images. So let me style the images to have a maximum width of 200 pixel, so that everything works okay. All right, so we have this maximum width 200 pixel. This guy's image is to, so some image might be string, so you guys will resolve your CSS these things. I just want to have, you know, this thing. So we have it like this: Caleb, Olubayo, Grace, and all of that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to use array method on these guys. Since it's something that is visual, I think everybody should be able to relate. We have Caleb, we have Grace, and we have Yanolua. So I want to have a control center of them, or over them. So this guy, I don't need you. So let's say I have a control. Let's say I have a control here on top of them. Don't mind me, I'll be using div. I'm old school, so don't worry. I have div. So let's say I call this guy controls. So there I want to have some button in there, where I can have a button, let's say remove first element, remove first user, and remove last user. So let's work with this. So I have this guy right there, remove first user, remove last user. So assuming I have my control also styled, so I just want to put, my emphasis is not on CSS, but I just want to put things in order so we can all relate. So let's say we equally give that a background color, and we give it a distinct background color. All right, and we equally have a lot of margin, especially the bottom margin, to be saved 20 pixel, so it's well separated from the rest. And then its own display can be flex by default. So we have that like that. So this guy here, I want to use it to control what is happening here, right? Right, so we have that.
So you didn't add S
So
to
they
the
didn't add
spelling of
S.
controls.
Don't mind me, oh, don't mind me, oh. I don't know what is wrong with this guy. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to then call up this guy. So everything works well except the margin bottom, which I removed, and I put 0 there. All right, so I want to be able to remove the first user and the last user with this by just clicking these buttons right here. Okay, so assuming we wrap it up in a function, so let's say we have function, and then we say remove first user, like that, and then we have another function, we say remove last user right there. Okay, so the first user I'm removing here, I have users dot pop, right? Dot shift rather, the first user dot shift, and this removes the first user, and then this one here, users dot pop, this would remove the last user. So I have a user on my desk that I've got here. I have a user on my desk that I've got here, and then I want to be able to click on that, and that's got removed, and like that. When I click on this, the first user, I want Olubayo to disappear. If I click the last user, I want Yanoluwa to disappear. All right, so but then you'll see that something is wrong in there. So if I come in here, I pass on click, remove last user, right? And then this one on click, remove first user. Good. Okay, so now that we've got these guys right here, yeah, now that we've got this guy right here, so when we click on remove first user, we want the first user to be removed. But when we click, we see that it's not removing. It's not like it's not removing, but the DOM is not updating. When you look at it like this, it has actually invoked, but the DOM did not update. So what we need to do is to wrap this guy here that is doing the rendering in a function. So we'll wrap that guy that is doing the rendering in a function, so that we can easily, call this guy so the DOM updates correctly. So we're going to come here and wrap this guy in a function. So let's say we call that function render user. Render users. All right, so that's the function name. I have this guy here, render user. So users rendering, there I have this guy here. So each time I need to render a user, I call it. All right, so by default this needs to be called by default as the page loads is renders, and then each time we also need to update the DOM we call render users. Each time we need to update the DOM we call render users. Render users. So if we do this, and all things being equal, if we click on, just put your eye on that. I want to, so put your eye on this, say remove first user. See, first user disappeared. Remove another first user, grace disappeared. and then remove first user again, this guy disappear because the DOM now doesn't have him anymore. So now what I want to do is I want to be able to even know the people that I removed. When you use shift, which removes the first element in the list, in the array. So we have 3 people. So let me say I don't want to, in my controls, let me put another button there. In my control, put another button there, and then here I call this one reload. So I reload the old DOM, or refresh, whatever you call it. So you can immediately write your window.location.reload here, or you can pass it into a function if you want to do something else. So window.reload, or you can say location.reload. So that's reloads the interface. So instead of me using the browser reloads, I will be using that guy to refresh the DOM. So if I say remove the last person, I expect Ianoluwa to disappear, the last person. So it got disappeared. If I want everything to come back, I reload, everything comes back. So when I say remove the first person, Olubayo disappears. You know, if I want everybody to come back, this guy comes back. Okay, so now I want a more interactive distance. I want this guy to tell me the person that has just been removed, rather than, so I need some feedback. So I will say let's removed user be equals to this, because this guy returns what that user that has been removed, he returns it, right? So then I want to tell whoever is listening, whoever cares to listen, that this person has been removed. Remove user, removed user dot first name or last name, any of it that I want to, has been removed or removed. You know, how many elements do we have left? Users dot length remains. So we have this also number of users left. So don't get it twisted. You know, all these things I'm doing here, I'm trying to build it up so that you get it. Later on, you see how we can optimize this function such that we can even use the same function to handle whether you want to remove from first or from last. But the first thing is to get the first layer, and then later you can see how you optimize. But what doesn't work, if something doesn't work, you are talking about optimizations and you are confusing yourself. All right, so just get it. We are trying to say remove the first user, and we are trying to remove the last user. Now here we want to tell the user of feedback that we have done what you asked us to do, the name of the person that was removed, and how many users we have left. So if I use this first remove first user right here, if I say remove first user, so you see it says Caleb has been removed. We have 2 users left. You know, here if I remove this second person, you say Grace has been removed. We have 1 users left, which is wrong. So you can use your if condition and check the length before you tell the user wrong thing, instead of, so that you won't pluralize your what is not single. But that's not what I'm here to do. I just want to show you some sort of practical applications, and I want to see what you guys build with this. You can start building small games depending on what your imagination, where your imagination leads you, with a couple of things that you've learned so far. All right, so the same feedback we want to give here. So I say let the same thing pretty much removed. So let's remove user equals to this. The same feedback. Since I'm doing that, I'm the only one that can copy and paste, so you can copy, you have to type it if you're doing it. So you come here and say remove user dot first name has been removed, we have total number of users. It won't be different where you remove from. What we care about is some level of users. Some users have been removed, and we have some users left. So if you have here, if you have removed from the last, so Yanoluwa, because I'm removing from behind, has been removed, and we have 2 users left. So if I remove from first again, Caleb is now the first, and we have 1 person left, like that. So but we want to do, I want us to do so much more. I want us to be able to add more users from the pool of users that we have to the existing users, so we can have the users increase, and then we can play with them. So assuming we have this select box created, let me expand this one again so that we have everything in full flesh, so you guys can follow through. I don't want to pan it side by side permanently. So let's say we have here a select box. Please, if you are confused so far, let me know, because we want to build on this. If you're confused so far, I know that a couple of us have tried to break it down further for our colleagues, but I think if we can flow with this, we'll just be fine, rather than just imagining how it's applied. So I have the list of users here. So on top of the list of users, I want to have new users, the pool of new users. All right, so inside here I want to have new users. So I have it as select, right, and I have options for new users. So let's say I call this one new users. I have new users ID. All right, and so I want to pass in some users that are not already here. I want to pass them in dynamically, so they got appended here. They get append here. So let's say we have this ID here, or class, and we call it new users, so that we can style it accordingly. Container. All right, so let's say we have that new users container. All right, so we have ID new users container, and we've got this. All right, so I want to give it a margin so that it's distinct, especially margin top and margin bottom. So let's say we want to give it 50 pixel, that, and then auto. Okay, so new users container, it's got that, and then I have this guy here, and then normally there will be options. We'll have option where we'll have user 1, user 2, and all of that. So if you look at what we've got in your this thing here, you see that we have that option there. So but I want to be able to select this user, and then I want to add in that user to this pool of users here. I want to be able to select that user and have that user added to pool of users. Please, if you are confused so far, let me know. So before we add to the layer. Are we good so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So what we want to do is to dynamically add this guy here to the element new user. So let's create another, let's form another JSON, another array. I don't want to use this original array. I want to form another one. So let's say new users lists be equals to, so we're going to follow the same pattern, but I will use different set of users. I'll use different set of users. So I'll just take advantage of the structure, and then I'll have those users, those new set of users, Kemi and last name. What's your last name? I'll give you another last name. Olayinka. Then Kemi. Then I have Ungozi. Alright, so I'll return RG for Ungozi, and then what I'm particular about is for what works. And I'm particularly using our images so that we can relate. I don't want to use any random stuff. Obina.
Sir, there's no E in because the image.
Thank you, Jerry. At least I have a friend in the group. I have one friend, at least one friend. So I have obina.jpg. Alright, so what I want to do is, first of all, populate this in this drop down. This new users list, we want to populate it in the drop down here, so that you can easily select any of them and have them added to the original users list. So we have two functions to do. First, have field populated. So I'm going to put it inside same function that we already have because it's part of the render. So so let's say I instantiate this one too. So I have let's the same way that we had this one. Excuse me. New users list. The array that we've got for each of it, for each of that, we extract each element as a user. You can give it any name. It's a variable name, Abi. It's a variable name which represents each element in the array. You can give it anything, but I like it to be what it is, right? So what we want to do is to replicate this select box, right? Select this option box here to have it there. So I cut that out, and then I want to put that dynamically. I cut that out and I want to put that dynamically. So I would come here and say new user option. So let's come here and have instantiate it. It's always good to have instantiation like that. New users, right? Or new user options, whatever you call it. It's your variable name, but of course you know that you cannot use what you already used. I already have new users list taken as a variable name, so I have that. New user box or new user options. Alright, so here I have that new user, and just like we did for the first one, then have this guy like that. So but this time around we're going to pass in this we pass it like this: user dot first name and user dot last name. Okay, then also similarly we are going to get, so you group what is alike together. When you're getting all DOM elements by whatever, let them be in the same section of the screen, rather than having it here and there like that. So I want to target this guy here. I want to target this guy, this select box, which we call new users. All right, so I come in here and I say new users select, or new users options, whatever you call it, equals to document dot get element by id, and then you pass in that guy, new users, and that gives me that users. So here we target the DOM elements, and here what we are doing is the render users. Okay, and here we are typically writing this function here. Later on I will show us how we succinctly write this thing for what's it called, function. So write the function decorator for it. So, and that is like this. Where is that guy again? Right, so where you then describe what this function is, and what the function is, the kind of parameter it takes, and what it returns. But that's the bit I don't want to confuse us, so let's just work with the basic commenting. All right, so I've got that users dot for each, and then here this users dot this one also. So I come in here and pass in this similarly dot inner HTML to be equals to this new users that you've got. These users that you got, you have that, you have that, you have that. I'm just terminating, it's not required. All right, so we have that code in there. So all things being equal, if you come here, you can see the new users already populated in the select box. So, but let's say the first user, we call the first user select 1. Option, and we say select new user. All right, so let's say we have that, so that becomes the first option in the list. So it becomes the first option in the list, and then we have this kemi, this thing. So what I want to do is when I select any of these, I want it added to this list. I want it added to the existing list that we've got here. Please, is anybody confused so far? Please, is anybody confused so far? All right, so
we are coming along, sir.
We are coming along. Okay, thank you very much for confirming that we are flowing along. So the first thing I want to be able to do before I start working with what is wrong is to be sure that I can get each of these users when they are selected. Once I can get it, I think to to put it to any position, whether I want to put it to the beginning or I want to add it to the end, won't be a problem. So let's first of all see that we can get this thing here. So what will come here is to handle that. On the select box, you use unchange, because you know it's a select box and it's not like a button that you come and say on click. I see some of you using click this thing on select on inputs that are not on, you know, elements that are not typically clicked. Their function is not to be clicked. So if I say on click, when I come here, I just click anything, it fires. But when I say change, when its value changes, that is when it fires, and that's what I need. So that is what I'm listening to. I'm just listening. I'm not listening to the click. I'm listening to when the value of that select changes. So when the value changes, I want to be able to get selected element. All right. So you have a number of ways of getting it. You can pass in an event here, and then you can listen to the event targets, or you can just listen to what, as soon as it's selected, you have the selected index got passed, and then you can have this thing. So let's move on. I will explain it in a way that won't, sorry, Control Z, won't get confused. So I still feel like I'm not breaking it down enough as I want, but I hope that we are getting it at least to a reasonable extent. So let's say I have function, and then I have this guy here, get selected element. So I can use that anywhere, the same way we're using this get render everywhere. So we can also call that anytime and know what is being passed. So like I said, there are a number of ways that you can get that. You can get it by, if you pass in an event here, the event that we handled, what we have just handled, what happened. If you pass in that as a variable here, and you come in here and pass in that event, so you pass in this parameter here, and then that as an argument, you can target anything that has just happened. If you put this e there, anything that has just happened, so where it happened is called the target. Where it happened is called the target. Something that just happened, it works on any HTML element. So but if that thing returns value, so you can get event.target.value. Or if you want to know the content of the event, you can just console out the event, so you see all this thing there. So when you say event.target, we're talking about on that element that you have just performed that event. So on the select, that's when we are firing that. We can get event.target.value. So if I say alert, if I say let selected user be equals to event dot, which is his e here. If you like, you write it in full, doesn't matter. So let me say event.target.value. So let's say we've got that as that, and then if I now say alert selected user. All right, so if I say alert selected user, all things being equal, this should fire and I should get selected user. So Kemi, I can see Kemi, I can see Ngozi, I can see Obinna go past. One thing that you have to then know though is that we would be needing their pictures, not just their name. We'll be needing their pictures when we want to add them here, because their predecessors got pictures, you know, and maybe there are other things from the list that you want to add, but this guy is only returning, is just returning their names. So I need so much more than just the name that I got by default. So I would need to pass in the value of this thing here, because we didn't pass in any value. So it just took this label here as the value by default. So I will go there and pass in value. All right, so if I'm passing in value and I'm passing a string, I can just string. I will have it like this. But I want to pass in objects. I want to pass in everything the user has as a value for that thing. So I'll just keep it like this. So I can keep it like that and have it pass as users. Please, are we following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so you can have it pass.
Recording stopped.
You can have it pass like this, just the user. But when you listen to what you get in there, you'll see object, because this user is an object. All right, so if you go in to this place now, you can see object is what we are seeing. We are not seeing Ngozi again. We are seeing object, and but even this object is not decodable.
Recording in progress.
It's not decodable because we are not intentional about it. So what we need to do is to turn this to a string. We turn this object to a string, and then we can then return it back to object type later on. So to turn an object to a string value, to turn an object to a string, we use json.stringify. We'll stringify that object. All right, so this is what we're going to do. JSON, I know that maybe some of you are hearing JSON for the first time. JSON, what we have here is a JSON. I don't think anybody should hear it, but if you are hearing it for the first time, you are not wrong. This is a JSON object. All right, JavaScript object notation. That's what we call JSON. JavaScript object notation. All right. So if I want to convert a JSON to string or string to JSON, we can do it back and forth. So we use a JSON property here, JSON dot. So when you say stringify, it turns that into string because natively the value of an option box should be string, as we saw that one. So we need to get this guy converted to the required distance, and then later we can get it back to original form when we need to access it. When we need to access its elements, like we are accessing this guy. When we need to access this element, like we're accessing this guy here, this user's dot first name and all of that. Okay, Ctrl Alt Z, right? So everything breaks into line. So I want you to see the screen at all time, and that's why I'm also showing you full screen so that we can flow more. So now if I do this now, convert it to string, this just stringifies that object. If you look at it again, you see that we can now see the full signature that Ngozi has. First name is Ngozi, last name is that, email is that, and all of that. So it's now, you know, holding on us to convert it back to original form when we need it. So this is being fired, and this is being handled, and like that. So we have it like this. Okay. Events dot that. So that's one way of getting it. One way of getting the selected value. Another way of getting the selected value is, let's say you are not using this one. Assuming you are not using this one, and then you are using, let's say, this selected user still. I want to keep that other one, that's why I keep it there. So I'll use the same variable name to be equals to, so new users lists. You know, we have this new users lists that we render this thing from, this one here, right? So if we have this new users lists, where is it? Yeah, this one here, the object, that's the select box. If you console.log it at this time, you will have all its options, or any time. anytime you console.log this guy, you have what he contains. Anytime you log this guy, you have its content. So that is the select bus itself. So we can have this guy, which is the select bus itself, right? Then dot options. This shows us the options that it has, right? This gives us the options, all the various options that it got. So if you, for instance, let's say we log this, hello. So this one here gives us all the elements in the select. This gives us the elements, all the elements in the select. So if we alert this, for instance, you see what we have here is HTML object element is a collection. Okay, now so if I pass in the index of what I have this guy here, new users dot selected index, selected index. So I have that, and then if I have this dot value, it gives me the value. It gives me the same thing that we got the other time. So the selected index just, it gives you that option. If you log it, you will see it better, because what alert is giving you, it's bundled, right? So but in the console, you're able to, you know, open the onions and see what the onions contains. So but when in the alert, it just give you the collections, and you are not able to inspect it. So this guy contains this this. Someone is calling me from Zambia. Who is that? All right, selected user dot that. Okay, so whichever one you want to use, whether you want to use the event.target, which is very succinct, or you want to have it layer like this. The only problem that event.target has, if you are using this guy here, is that for you to be able to call it subsequently, not when, let's say now, you know, this guy has been called and is at rest now, but that value, I still want to be able to use it. So your option is either to pass in that value into a global variable and then be able to use everywhere, or you, because this event here would always be listened to, and then you know, you have a problem when you try to call it like you're calling this guy. Okay, so I'm going to use this one, but like I said, you can use that other one and have it wrapped that way. This one here, I'm going to leave it for you. So we have that, and rather than alerting, I will just return this value. I'll return this selected value, so that when I call this, I can get what the last selected value from that guy. So I can have this guy selected user. Okay, and where this guy has been used is used here. Is this on change here? So I can remove that E, since I don't have any need for E again. All right, so to do very quickly, the next thing I'm just going to do, I think I'm overstaying your time, is to sir?
Hello, sir.
What did you say?
Please, how do you do that? There's something you did just now.
Oh, okay. What I did just now. Okay, why did I do it? This one here, I just control click on the function. That was so, and it takes you to all. It will take you to everywhere. All the, if you need, everywhere it's been used, right? So I have I have it used only in one place, so I just go there. I just go there straight like that, and like that.
Okay.
And also vice versa. I know some of you know it. Vice versa as well. You can come to the define function from that same where you have used it by control and clicking it. So you can have it. You can come back to that. So whichever one you're comfortable with, use. So what I'm saying here now is that we want to create a button here, and we can handle it immediately. Get selected element and append. But what if you want to select how it should be append? How it should be appended? Is it to the front or to the back? Should we add it? You understand? So for that reason, we may want to use a button. So let's say we use a button like this, and in that button, assuming we've got had new user or add to the front, you can write your English as you want. Add to the front or add to the beginning. Add to start. So write your English as you want, and then the same thing, I want add to end. I want add to end. Are we together, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please, if you are confused, all you need to do is just lay your hand on the video and ensure that you go through it. So similarly, I will have on click on this. On click. Add to start. You can write a proper function name, and on click, add to end. Okay, so assuming you've got this, how to start, how to the end, all these functions you haven't created them yet, so you just ensure that you have them created. So and you can use any function you're comfortable with using. How to start. And so you have your users already. Hello guys, are we together?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
Yes, sir.
now the first thing I want to do is to get selected user. All right, and I will get that by calling this guy. So I'll rely on it. Get selected. Did I call it selected elements? I will change that to selected user. So let me change this to selected user. Where is this guy again? Has anybody seen? Okay. Selected. Get selected user. So it's more like it. Get selected, and that returns that, or selected user, whatever you call it. So the next thing you then want to do is your original users. You want to add the new users to it. So now you say add to start. You are adding it to the beginning, right? You are adding it to the beginning, and when you add to the beginning, is unshift. Selected user, but unfortunately this user is a string. is a string, and is a string, and you know, every other object, every other element in these things are objects. So it's not going to work like that. If you render the users accordingly, it will not work as expected. So if you come here now, you say Kemi add. Kemi is added, but you can see undefined, and we have the image not showing up. That's because Kemi, that what we added here is a string. So we need to get it back to original form. It was an object before we converted to a string here. So we need to get it back to be an object. And to do that, it's the same devil that we used earlier, which is JSON, that we'll still use. You just use the pass that guy, so you get back to the JSON format. Okay, so once that's done, you have users on shift JSON.parse and this guy, and then you render this one. Everything just works since your render handles every other thing. Everything just works all together. So if I select Ngozi now and I say add to the start, Ngozi becomes the first element here, right? Add to the end doesn't work yet. This must have thrown an error, you know. So if I select another person, Obinna, add to the start, got added again. I can add Ngozi as many times because we didn't say that we are not deleting the element that we've added before. So you can see them, we're having it added, you know, everybody getting added as many times as possible. So everybody is starting from beginning, right? Like that. So if we refresh this, everything goes back to default, so we can start all over again. All right, so let's make add to the end work. So we don't want to, when we click on this, we want this guy to come after Yanolua. So we'll undo that as well. So we say function add to end. So we have this guy here. Pretty much the same thing. Basically. Like I said, I'm the only one that can. A lot of people have been calling me there. Have this. So we have let's selected that. This one is not going to be on shift though. We are pushing. So I just copy that. So I use push, array of push to the end because I need it to the end, added to the end. So similarly, if you pass in just this selected, it will be passed. We'll see something there, but we cannot read the value because it's a string, and our render is not expecting our renderer. You can see our renderer here is not expecting a string. Is it's going in to mention stuff specifically. All right, so if we come in here and we'll say Ngozi add to the end, we can see something added, quite all right, but it isn't quite right because we can't see it. Undefined is what we got. See. All right, so I will just end it up by just passing that guy appropriately, JSON or parse, and then I can have this guy like that. So once we have it passed, we have everything getting shown properly. So if I say Kemi had to the end, Kemi got to the end, another Kemi to the start, Kemi to this here, you know. See, so you just do what you want. This is JavaScript. Just do what you want. This is JavaScript, you know. So you can see everything, you know, like that. This is just a couple of this thing that we have. I would want to see at the basic level though. I want to see what you guys can build with this. I guess we'll have another session where we would use other array methods to we'll continue to build on this. We'll use other array methods, from the splice to slicing to finding to filtering to filling to mapping, to reduce. We use everything like that. So we use your face and people so you can relate. Make sense? Nobody is talking. It looks like I've wasted these people's time.
No, sir. Akule, sir. Thank you, sir.
You did not waste our time.
I did not waste your time. So I'm happy for that. So I think we're going to end it here. Like I said, so we can have it processed, and so we can watch. So like I said, I'm sure that some of us who did not go through the other video that I shared, I saw it that only 4 people said they liked it. The rest of the people did not like it. What did you say? Any question on this?
Yes, I have a question, sir.
Go ahead, please.
So earlier in the video, you mentioned something about, you said that inner HTML is injectable.
Yes.
So what does it mean?
Yeah, it's injectable because someone can pass in a cross script into your distance and it will get passed. Nothing is sanitizing. So for instance, here they can pass in anything here. They can pass in anything. We are going to do security, right? They can pass in anything and it will run. Even this one that we have here, the string literals, yeah, because it's executable. You can write JavaScript here within your HTML and it will work. So if I can execute anything, then I have power to do what I want to do. Imagine we are taking input from user and we are passing it inside inner HTML. I saw that in your code that last time. Someone is giving you first name, last name, and we are passing it straight into the inner HTML like that. So instead of writing my name, I could write scripts. So when you pass it inside HTML, anything in there is seen as an HTML code. So it will be executed like all the JavaScript that you see here. Everything it will be handled like that. So I can write HTML scripts, I can write JavaScript, and it will do what I want it to do, right? Because that's in HTML is just it's just that vulnerable. All right. So but there are ways you can handle it to do cross scripting, sanitization, do some housekeeping to ensure that you cop that. Do you get? You see,
Yes, sir.
this is a script. You see, this is a script, right? This is a script, and we pass it into the inner HTML, and it took it. This is a script we've written. We pass it into the body of this inner HTML. It took it without asking any question. So anybody could have written any script, especially when you are taking a user. If this profile image or this one, you are taking it from users, instead of giving you their name, they give you a script. It will still execute. It will execute, and it will do what they want. And if he can do what they want, then you are finished.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, please, thank you for the answers. Good morning, sir. So how do we counter it? How do we
Yeah,
avoid this?
let's do it one after the other. Is already this thing. I spoke about sanitizations. You see how we sanitize. You do proper validation. All those things like that. Those are ways, and of course you try to block the cross scripting. So we'll get to that part. When we get to the page, we'll cross it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so please, any other question? I'm road bound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So good morning, sir. Thank you for the class so far.
Yeah.
So my question is, you talked about the difference between using events.target.value and the other methods.
Yeah.
I didn't get that part, sir.
Okay. So that part is this. So assuming we use this guy here, assuming we had used this event to handle, to collect it, rather than this one, if this is what you use, you'll see the issue that I was saying that you might have. You have selected user, you pass in this guy, and then here we go to, this is where we used it. So we pass that event that is coming, so you would assume that everything should work by default, so because we just changed what we have used now. So but let's get to see what we've got. We have Kemi, it's not working. See, it's not working. So if you check your console, it's telling you something, because it's expecting that you pass in that argument of event, but it has happened a long time. It's not the one, it's not the current thing that is happening. So if you go see what is happening there, so you can see cannot read property of undefined, reading target, because it's not the current event that is happening. It happened a long time ago. You get, so because it's you are getting it inside here. You're calling that selected user, where is it called, this selected user, you're calling it inside another object here. You are calling it inside another function, right? So here, so if you say like, okay, if you pass in this event here, so where is this event coming from? Except you're going to have events, come from, you pass it as a param to this add stats, and then this takes it as argument. And the moment you do that, you are also saying something different, because add to start is an event on the button, and this one is an event on the select button. So these are two different events you are mixing up. This event is a click event on the button. This one is the event of the select box. So that you pass here is the click event of the select, of the button that you are passing in here. So because of the way you're going to use it, you have to be careful, how you call it. So what I said, that if you still want to use this, what you then do is to have, let's say you have a global variable. You have a global variable, just like you had this one. All these ones here, you have a global variable which would be declared ab initio as empty. Then when you call this, when you have this guy here, you pass in that global variable, right? So you pass in that global variable, and then you can call it in itself without having to call it inside this guy. So here, when you say selected user here, you are just targeting the global variable. You target the global variable, the child or the children or the child that this guy has given birth to, that is in the DOM, because once you pass this, assign this guy to the global variable, it becomes the value, and that is staying in the DOM. So you can just say this guy here, you just use it just like you're using the users. You are not the one declaring it. It's been declared in the DOM and the value has been assigned. You just make use of it. So these are options that you have. This is what I said. So but I am aware that we are about a class of 60 to 70 distinct. I need to be careful of the complexity I bring in. So the more you try to explain, the more you confuse some people. So I just try to get it right. Just put it in that layer like that. So I'm going to go back to my original this thing. Do you get it? Do you get the torrential I spoke?
Yeah, yes sir, yes sir. Thank you.
What did I undo now? I've undone something else. Okay, I think we're good. So let's see if everything works again. Let's see if everything works again. Yeah, everything works again.